seems like there's a pretty good argument for mootness there, and if that's the court's inclination to dismiss it on mootness, we certainly wouldn't object and would sign up.
I'll look it over and see. I don't know where we're at on the others. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Maybe dismiss.
Yes, you may. Good to see you.
I see you too.
Let's have, okay. Let's see where we're at on, where's Mr. K? With the glasses on. Okay, while we hear your all schedule. And this is some kind of a motion. We're having a hard time finding the motion. We know that it's we have a motion on, but because this file's getting pretty thick, I don't know if we've got the motion. Okay, so it's your motion, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, that'd be nice. Emergency motion of the Family Foundation to order preservation of evidence. Okay. You don't have any opposition.
Well, and just...
I mean, this is preservation of evidence.
But there's some logistical problems in that we don't control. I got the motion at about 4 o'clock Friday afternoon, driving in my car back from spring break, so there's obviously a bit of a time.
Where'd y'all go?
Down the Charleston area, Isle Palms.
Isle Palms. We just got back from Isle Palms not too long ago. That's a pretty nice place. We've been going there for 30 years.
Yeah, we've been going for a few years as well. Had a good time. So obviously there's been no time to respond or barely even process the motion. As I read it, I mean, what we're talking about, I think what Mr. K was asking is for, every single machine that's ever been at Kentucky Downs to be secured somewhere, which is practically.
What about, just one of the machines? I mean, that would be good enough. I would think they probably all work the same. Don't you think so, Mr. Cave?
Well, they have said that I can read the transcripts from the previous hearing where they have said they do not.
So the machines work differently?
That's what they said, because Your Honor recall September 20th of 2010, they had a hearing in this country. You may not recall it, but I got the transcript of it. I was trying to explain about how the regulations interacted with the patent racing machines. And Mr. Snyder was there back in Churchill Downs, as well as Ms. Hopkins, who was counsel for the Racing Commission, who denied that was the case. So I think they asked for the machines to be declared, it's their laws to be declared legal, their lawsuit. Now they need to make sure that I have access to the machines.
I think any of the machines that are, you ought to have one of them of each one. I don't know how many there are. How many machines are there?
Several hundred, and it's the way
several hundred?
Yeah.
There are about 600.
600
I don't think there were over 600, but there were several.
500?
It was not 500 because we just.
Well, how about this? How many different types of machines are there? You know?
Well, the answer the machines operate. The machines are almost like hardware, like a computer. But unless you have the technology that goes in them, they don't do anything. And I could bring a machine right here and it wouldn't do anything unless it was hooked up to the pari-mutuel network.
Right.
There are several classes of machines that are essentially just terminals. Some were leased from Racetech, some were purchased, and some were purchased from Amtote, some were leased from Amtote. But I think they're all essentially the same machine. They just need the software.
Why don't we do this? You need a chance to respond to this.
Yes, sir.
Why don't we give you a week for you to figure all this out? I mean, it's hard for me to make a decision when we don't know how many machines, and until then, we'll just preserve those machines, and then we'll par it down after that. Is that all right, Mr. K?
Yes, that's what Your Honor wants to do. I'd first like to that we do no harm.
Right.
You tell them to maintain the machines at Kentucky Downs right now. So
until you can maintain the machines until we can get this figured out. How many? What I'm thinking about it is I think your name's Jay, right?
Correct.
Okay. And Jay, what I'm thinking is that we would access to the, to the technology as it relates to the software at some time, so that at least they can look at it. Because switching the machines is sort of something I don't think we anticipated. Did you, Mr. Gay?
Oh, no, sir. I thought that they're under a legal duty to make sure to preserve, maintain.
So preserve them, and Mr. Cady, you can tender me an order on this as of your motion. Just preserve the machines until next week, and then, Jay, if you will just get back with them and find out how many different of these machines there are, and how many are leased, and how many are been purchased by the facility.
Certainly will, sir.
And if you just have to put them in somewhere else, you put them in somewhere else.
And with one caveat, some of these machines are not in Kentucky Grounds Control. The ones that are leased, Race Tech was coming to pick them up late last week. I don't know if they have.
Well, if they haven't picked them up, let's just tell them to wait.
And I'll do my best, but
Yeah.
I can't control Race Tech.
I can control Race Tech.
I was going to say, what if they have come to pick them up, they need to bring them back?
Well, we'll cross that bridge next week.
Yeah, I don't know if they have or not, and I mean, I don't represent Race Tech.
Right.
Race Tech's not in this lawsuit. I will certainly convey the message, Judge.
Yeah, tell them that, they need to just wait.
I will convey
This is
that
all
message.
under litigation, and, they need to just wait about that, because this, I think you all were under a duty to tell him that this was coming down, with this case going on, and that needs to occur. You shouldn't be switching the machines in the middle of the litigation, or if you are going to switch machines, there should be some type of a plan to, at least preserve some type of the evidence of these machines.
Well, certainly.
And it's probably the testimony, I'm just guessing, that the machines that are replacing them are probably operate the same way. I mean, that's probably going to be the testimony, I would assume, but, I've learned in this business you can't really assume anything. So let's see if we can do that and then reconvene. Now, if you all come to some type of an agreement on these machines, just let me know, but you do need to refile your motion, Mr. K, okay, for next Wednesday, and then you'll respond, okay?
And Your Honor, just for clarification, it was Race Tech terminated
Your all's deal.
the agreement, so there's another provider that now, Race Tech was the only provider before. They terminated, and there's a new provider. That was the reason. And it was of public record. It went before the Racing Commission.
Okay.
Mr. K was well aware of that.
No, I was not notified anything going on. I read the newspaper. That's what's attached to my motion. They gave me notice of nothing. And,
I don't think that you can assume that he follows this stuff. Like, you don't attend all those racing commission meetings or anything.
no, because many of them are not held at the Racing Commission. They're held at law firms. Before that they have, that's in the record too, where they have meetings before the Racing Commission convenes, and then they decide what they're going to do, and then they have the Racing Commission meeting. There's no discussion of anything. But no, I don't get any notice of what's going on.
Well, if we're changing machines and stuff, at this high level of litigation we need to give notice.
My understanding is Mr. K asked to speak at the Racing Commission meeting, so I think he was well aware of it.
No, sir. I haven't been to a Racing Commission meeting since July the 14th, 2011. That's where I saw you, Jay. But I haven't been to one.
Well, I don't know. Y'all can flush all that out. If y'all come to some type of agreement, I always encourage you on these discovery deals. If y'all can come to some type of agreement, if not, file your motion for next Wednesday. You know what the substance of it is, so you can go ahead and file a response. The only reason I'm asking you to do that, Mr. K, is so that it gets on the docket. Okay?
Oh, sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you all, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. Jeffrey Young versus Stephen Shear. This is a motion for a jury trial. We're seeking a motion for a jury trial on a date that's already passed, it looks like. Tell me about this case, Jeffrey Young.
Thank you, Your Honor. Three motions currently have been filed.
Okay.
Two motions to dismiss, which between them cover all five defendants. I filed a very timely answer to those two more motions to the pot, if I may.
Okay, what is that?
First one is, I move that the motions to dismiss be heard today. And the second, that the court order a settlement conference among all the parties.
Would you notice this motion to dismiss?
We noticed it for the 27th, Your Honor. John Solomon on behalf of defendant Allison Winters and Grimes. Mark Guilfoyle, who represents the remaining defendants, is out of the country, and as I understand, won't be back until the end of the month. That's why we both noticed our motions to dismiss for the 27th.
Okay,
I object to that late date.
what do you object? I mean, what is this case about? I don't even know, Mr. Camp, okay? What's this case about?
Thank you. My civil complaint filed on March 2nd this year is against Governor Steve Beshear, Jack Conway, Allison Mundergan Grimes, the current chairperson of the Kentucky Democratic Party, Patrick Hughes, and the immediate past chair of the party, Dan Logson. It is a complaint about conspiracy to defraud Kentucky's Democratic voters, corruption, cronyism, and intentional violation of party bylaws. Party bylaws have the force of law, and I have accused the 5 defendants of conspiring to determine the outcome of the May 19th primary election ahead of time without the participation of Kentucky's Democratic Party voters. In other words, I'm accusing them of attempting to rig the upcoming Democratic primary election for governor, also the Allison's re-election to Secretary of State, and I'm accusing Governor Beshear of having rigged last year's Democratic primary for U.S. Congress in Kentucky's 6th District, where I was one of the candidates, and he endorsed the other candidate, Elizabeth Jensen, in advance of that primary, thereby rigging it.
Your Honor, we're not prepared today, obviously, to address the motions to dismiss, and we plan to do that on the 27th. Just in response to what Mr. Young offered, Mr. Young is a declared candidate for governor in the May primary. He seems to be wanting to wage his campaign now in the courtroom instead of at the ballot box. His complaint.
So you're a candidate for which office?
Governor.
Governor, okay.
And the complaint, Your Honor, fails to state any claim upon which relief may be granted. Mr. Young is essentially wanting to argue about intra-party politics within the Democratic Party, and there's a long line of precedent in this state, which Mr. Young actually acknowledges in his response, beginning with the Rosenberg case, that states very plainly courts don't interfere in intra-party politics. They're just, not justiciable claims. Certainly he's not pled any fraud with particularity as required by Rule 9. We can address the motion to dismiss later this month, but his complaint is for the most part, Your Honor, unintelligible, but what's clear from it is that it doesn't state any claims. And there's nothing stated there that is proper for review in this court.
Naturally, I disagree with everything you just said.
Well, let me tell you this, Mr. Young. My wife works for Jack Conway in a merit position. And if you've got any problem with that, she's not a non-merit. She's worked over
I
there.
have no problem with that, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. I was going to tell you, if you did have a problem with it, I'd certify it to the Supreme Court. I think it'd probably back me on that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Even if you did have a problem with it, I probably still wouldn't recuse because she's not a non-merit. She's a merit employee.
I have no problem.
Okay. Well, let's do this. Guilfoyle's out of the country, okay? I will get you a decision within 3 days of the motion to dismiss, okay? Now, you either know yay or nay, but we can't do a trial next, you know, I got other stuff going on that weekend, but I will, you know, I'm not gonna, put it this way, Mr. Young, you're gonna have a decision, an appealable decision, or something before the May 19th primary, because we're required by law to move, you know, on any kind of an election issue in a very speedy manner, and we will. You know, you just filed this on March, what was it, 3rd or something?
March 2nd.
March 2nd, my daughter's birthday. So anyway, you just filed this on March 2nd. We'll have something for you very quickly. Now, for that respect, since there's not that many of you that work on this, if Guilfoyle comes back, okay, you know, I don't know where he's at. I'm assuming everybody's on spring break this week. And I don't know if Guilfoyle has kids or what he has or grandkids, you know. Tell him it might be grandkids. Everybody's out on spring break. Everybody's left this area because it's all the high school spring break this week. If he comes back from wherever he's at, get with Mr. Young, and we'll do it as soon as we can. So, for instance, we could do it on the 15th or something like that. Sure. Okay? Is that all right? If you can get them all together, we'll have the arguments on the motion to dismiss earlier. But we just can't do it today because there's not enough people. Okay.
Your Honor, all of the pleadings on the motion.
Oh, if you want to submit it, if you want to submit it, I'll go ahead if you're all right about submitting it. I mean, you can talk to Guilfoyle, and you can reach him. Then all you got to do is call John in my office, and we'll start working on it.
My understanding, Your Honor, is that he's in Spain. I will try to reach him by email.
Yeah, try to send him an email, and if he's okay, and I don't know, is there anybody else representing any of these others?
No.
Okay, who do you represent?
I represent Secretary Grimes.
You represent Ms. Grimes, and then
Mark Guilfoyle.
Who was he?
Governor Bashir, Attorney General Conway, Mr. Logsdon, and Mr. Hughes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so he represents all of them.
Your Honor,
Yeah.
what I was trying to say was that all of the pleadings are complete on the motions to dismiss. They're not allowed to amend their 2 motions. I've submitted my written answer. In fact, I submitted it on April 1st, which means that we could hear it today, but I realize that's not going to happen.
Right.
And you could issue a written order without a hearing. And I don't see why that shouldn't be done.
Well, let's do this. You get a hold of Guilfoyle, send him an email, and send John an email if you just want me to look at the pleadings and issue it.
Sure.
Okay? I don't know anything about the law on this, Mr. Young, to be totally honest.
Well, they provided some cases.
Right. I will tell you this.
I provided some cases in my answer.
I was a clerk for Bill Graham for 2 solid years, and way over my head as a young law student, and been a circuit judge for almost going on 9 years. I haven't had any I haven't had anything between, you know, like Republicans suing Republicans about anything, and I haven't had any Democrats do the same thing. Now, I will tell you this. I've had a lot of cases of the Democrats versus the Republicans, okay? So I have had some of those cases, but I haven't had what we call intra-party cases. I never even, don't even know how, you know, they're trying to get, and this is coming down the pike, I guess, hopefully Phil draw it. It seems like I draw every strange thing. But they're trying to get something about the Republicans are trying to do some kind of caucus or something. You know,
Yes,
not to have you know, it'd be interesting to see how that works.
I don't know.
I'm just sure one
never
of us
looked
will
at
get
the
that.
Republican Party bylaws and never hope to. It seems to me they're allowed to do that if they want.
Well, I'll tell you this, Mr. Young. I'm a registered Democrat, and I was appointed by Paul Patton to the district judge and appointed by Ernie Flasher to this court. So, I mean, I feel like I'm sort of there. You know, you got, you know, I would, of course, I'd already announced that nobody was going to run against me when I ran, but, you know, I guess he figured, well, I can put in another Sam McNamara, I can backed him into a corner a little bit, I guess. But when he did call me personally to tell me he appointed me, and I did thank him. You know. All right, gentlemen.
Your Honor, can I just say, one of the main cases my answer is based on is Smith versus Allwright, U.S. Supreme Court, 1944. It's the case where the U.S. Supreme Court said that no matter what the bylaws of the Texas Democratic Party said, they may not exclude black people from voting in the primary in Texas.
Right. Well, that's neat. We go off record, but I've read all those Lyndon Johnson books. Who's that? Cato or Cairo wrote? Caro or yeah. And he looks like he may have stole that election back in what was it, 44? Is that what it was? Yeah, he defeated that and he might have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very good.
Thank you.
We got something. Are you here for 10:30? 10 o'clock. Okay. Thank you.
Solomon. I'm in love with your client, so that's between you and me.
Yeah, I told him he has no chance.
Lewis is married, right? But there's divorce too, right? That happens.
Qualifies you specifically? What makes you the best of the four good candidates that would be up here to lead the Commonwealth and to lead the Republican Party into this 2015 election? Let's go to, let's start with Mr. Comer. We'll come back then to Mr. Heiner, Mr. Scott, and Mr. Bennett.
Leadership's very important in this race. It's one of the campaign themes that we're running on. I stood before this group 4 years ago as Commissioner of Agriculture. At that time, there were stories being circulated in the press about problems with the previous commissioner, problems in the Department of Agriculture. I said I would call for an audit, stand up to leaders in my own party, and do what's right, make that government agency transparent, efficient, and accountable. I did that. I stood before this group and said I would pass industrial hemp legislation, when very few people probably thought that I could do that. I said I would stand up to Barack Obama and help him get off the backs of our family farmers in this state. I did that. I said I'm the type of leader that can bring people together to pass legislation in Frankfurt and Washington, D.C., and I did that. So a lot of people talk the talk. I've walked the walk, and that's what leadership's all about. Leadership's not about being partisan and giving every speech, bashing Frankfurt Democrats, or even though I disagree with them on 99% of everything. It's about bringing people together to actually accomplish something. That's what I'll do as a leader and as your next governor.
This is Hal Heiner. At the root of this question is why I'm excited about the possibility of facing Jack Conway in the fall. Jack Conway is a creature of Frankfurt. And what I believe, in order for this state to move forward, what we need is a governor that his career has been in the private sector. Not building a political organization, but building a business that understands accountability budgeting, that understands the importance of a private sector cabinet of experienced individuals that know how to move this state forward. We can't have a governor, we can't have Jack Conway as governor when he has spent his life in Frankfurt with rehashed ideas that have been holding the state back. What we need is what's happened in the states that are moving forward the fastest. Look at what's going on in Indiana. Look at what's going on now in Michigan, solving their Detroit bankruptcy problem. Look what's happening in Tennessee. Cross that boundary from Christian County down into Clarksville and see the cranes and the business expansion. They're electing conservative Republican business governors, bringing in business principles and new ideas into their capital. True leadership, and that's what we need in Kentucky.
Well, Scott, when I did the jump for the veterans from 3,500 feet, keep in mind I am a trained paratrooper and I still skydive. I had a chute malfunction and I had
extremely bad, twisted lines, and some of the people there knew I was having problems. They didn't know what. But I knew what I was doing. I knew how much time, I knew how much altitude I had to play with that, see if I could get it fixed before I let it go. And I had 400 feet left, and I fixed it, and I nailed the landing. A good leader has to know what they're doing. And if you want to look at my life and wonder how Will T did what he did, go to willtscott.com and look at my bio, and you'll see. But the one thing a leader has to be willing to do for you to make your life better is to risk his political future for doing right for you. And if you got anybody here that's running here to be governor, they're not the right person, and I'm not saying they're not. What you want is somebody that wants to fix things for you. You don't want somebody that just wants to be governor and senator and on. You want a servant. Thank you.
This is Matt Bevan. I'm also a trained paratrooper, but you don't see me doing that. I've got a wife and 9 kids that would beg to differ with that. At least the wife part of it would. I will tell you this: leadership comes by example. I am a former military officer. You lead by example. This is imperative. We've not had enough of it in politics in America, let alone here in Frankfurt. Leadership comes from putting stakes in the ground. When I announced my candidacy, I said I'll put out a plan. I challenged the 2 men to my right to do the same, and they're finally doing so, some in bits and pieces and some in sort of half-baked form. Look at the specifics of what we're telling you. I beg you, please, look at who is leading. Leadership doesn't mean you say one thing to one room and a different thing to another room because you think that's the answer they want to hear. Leadership comes from putting a stake in the ground and leading on it. I don't need or want this job badly enough to misrepresent who I am and what I'll do on behalf of you in order to get the job. And I challenge you, please, in this next month, to look very closely at each of us because there are distinct differences.
Well, unfortunately, time is getting away from us here, gentlemen. I very much appreciate all of you answering our questions tonight. Questions submitted by the Louisville Tea Party and our 970 AM The Answer audience. And we are at the point now where it's time to make final statements. You will have 3 minutes to talk about your plans, to tie up any loose ends from tonight's debate, whatever you'd like to do with that time to give the people of of our audience here on 970 AM The Answer and our audience here at the St. Matthew's Community Center some sense of exactly who you are and what the next 4 years will be like as governor. Let's start with Hal Heiner. We will then go to Matt Bevan, Will T. Scott, and James Comer.
Thank you again, Tea Party, for hosting this tonight. It's been a great night, Joe. Thank you for the questions. Tell you, I'm an unlikely candidate for governor. My background is in business. It's not in Frankfurt. It's been a business directly in the field of job attraction. That's what I've done for the last 25 years of my life. And before that, I was a civil engineer working on infrastructure all across the state. Sheila's here tonight. Sheila and I have lived a missional life. We feel like the best life, the most fulfilling life, is a life focused on others. And I'll tell you, I can't stay on the sidelines any longer when it comes to Kentucky. I can't stand seeing us lose to other states on what's happening in states north of us and south of us as they're providing jobs for the people in their states, for their next generation. And as adults, that's our prime responsibility, is to prepare the next generation and leave a Kentucky that's better than the one that we inherited. That's in peril today. We have a heritage here in our state of deep families, multi-generational families, and an interconnectedness, a great place to live and a great place to raise a family. But if we do not improve the economy, if we don't kickstart the economy in this next 4 years, all of that is in peril. We have to grow jobs. The $91 million our governor talked about this past summer, the fact that he had to sweep dollars from everything, from mental health, all of the other areas, law enforcement, reduce the size of Kentucky State Police, all those areas sweeping dollars is a symptom of what's going on in Kentucky, where our economy is not even keeping pace with the rate of inflation. We cannot stay where we are. We cannot stand 4 years of Jack Conway as governor in Kentucky and still be the great Commonwealth of Kentucky. So that's why I'm here before you tonight, as a business person who has spent his life in job attraction, as a person civically, that for the last 20 years of my life I've been involved in education, trying to help kids move forward faster, whether it's kids with learning differences, whether it's kids that start life with the fewest breaks. And we can do it It's happening in other states all around us. It just hasn't come to Kentucky yet. I've been involved. And I'm asking you tonight to join me in this effort. I'm asking you to join me in this primary on May 19th. I'm asking you in November. If we make it through this, I think we might, that you join me in November. And most importantly, I'd ask that you join me next year in the biggest battle we've ever had in Kentucky. And that's changed the direction of a state that is dramatically off track. It's off track in jobs. It's off track in our economy. We're off track in education and 98 other areas. So thank you again. I'm Hal Heiner. Thank you so much for your attention and your attendance tonight. And I'm really hoping you'll join me not just this year, but for the next 4-year administration. Thank you.
This is Matt Bevin. For all of you here in this room, thank you for being here. For those listening on the radio, thank you for tuning in, especially for those of you that may just be sitting in your driveway making people wonder why you haven't come in. Thank you for listening to this debate. It matters. It matters significantly. Mark Twain once noted that the difference between the right word and the almost right word is the difference between lightning and a lightning bug. And there's significant truth to that, and it's very significant as well as it relates to candidates. We have 4 solid candidates. We are going to beat Jack Conway in November, and it's about high time that we bring some fiscal sanity back to Frankfort. But the truth be told, there are differences. I'm asking you, please, reach for lightning. If you truly want something different, look at who has been consistent. Look at who has fought on issues that other people were afraid to take on. You look at my life as a job creator, as a military veteran, as a father of 9, as somebody I'm the only one on the stage that's never been an elected official. Some of you understand that there was one effort I made because a lot of people wanted to see that happen. I'm unafraid to challenge those in my own party and those outside my party. If you want somebody that is beholden to the interests in Frankfort, you've got that choice on this stage. If you've got somebody that's the chosen one and beholden to the people in Washington, D.C., you've got that on this stage. If you want someone to fight for you, those of you in this room who pay taxes, who are the veterans, who are the parents raising children, those of you that are out there every single day suffering under the regulatory burden that our government consistently suffocates you with, then I would ask for your vote on May 19th. Janine Hampton and I are not just so much hot air. We have been consistent. We've been steady. We offer the diversity that we talk about in this race. I am willing to do for this state what I would do for my own children. We've got great opportunity. I'm running because I do love this state. Why not Kentucky? Why should we not be a beacon to America? Ronald Reagan very famously said that it's morning in America. My question to you in this room, are you going to get out of bed? Will you get up this morning? Because if you are not willing to do the things necessary to make a brighter future, then we don't deserve a brighter future. We've got to make sacrifices. In closing, I will say this. I pray for my children that they will have wisdom. I pray that they will know the difference between right and wrong. But I pray additionally that they will have the courage to then do the right thing. That is what separates leaders from talkers. We need political courage in this state. And this is what I offer to you. I will fight for you like I fight for my own children. And I will defend this state and the sovereignty of this state and the Constitution of this state like I defended this nation when I wore her uniform. I would be grateful for your vote on May 19th.
Okay. Will T. Scott, I've written a lot of opinions while I was on the Supreme Court, but keep in mind that I told you that if there's anybody here, you all are going to make the decision. You got to make a decision for 4.4 million people. Do you really want a Republican government? Do you really want government to be better and work better for the people? Do you really want to reach out and nurture the hopes and aspirations? Well, if you do, you got to get out and work for it. I wrote an opinion, and I'm very proud of that opinion, and it was contrary to anything your teachers ever taught you. They taught you 3 branches of government, but I pointed out in the opinion, no, there's 4. There's one predominant branch, the people, that controls the other 3. And that's what you all have to do. Go ahead, I appreciate the applause back there. That's what you have to do. We just have to stand up and take a big broom and sweep them bats out of Frankfort. I'm telling you. Not only are the first 4, there's a couple on the second and several on the third and fourth. I'll say this. My dad used to say that you could take all the legislators in Kentucky and line them up head to toe and they point in all different directions. You know, you got to have somebody down there. And if there's anybody who wants to be governor up here, don't send them. If there's somebody up here that wants to serve and just wants to fix problems, mark them up. And that's your job. But when you do it, you got to reach out, grab everybody's hand, because we're all going up this mountain together, all four of us. And whichever one of us gets elected, well, they're going to drag the other three with them. You know, I'm telling you, you bring people up, even if they're your opponent, you bring them up there high, and you let the people see them, and they get more training than they take over. Remember, 24 years, and we're going to nurture, we're going to feed that cockroach. And we're going to keep it in a little box. And 24 years from now, when we're broke, we're going to give it back to them and let them keep it for 4 years. So all you have to do is just get together, talk to your friends. You know, we have differences of opinion on some issues, but the one thing we don't disagree on is this is the greatest state and the greatest nation in the world. And we're the greatest people and the most courteous and the most appreciative. So why can't we have that great tomorrow? If not today, then down the road for us and our children. Well, the answer is you can have anything you want. We just have to work for it. And we just have to stand together, hold each other's hand. Somebody gets tired, we pick them up, we carry them, and we go to the top of this mountain. But send somebody that's going down there to fix this thing. And I love every one of you. Thanks for being so nice to everybody here. And you all just be great people. Even those of you out there sitting in the car outside and they're wondering what you're doing, as Matt said. And the people at home, hey, you're the economic engine of this state. You pull this train. Don't stop.
This is James Comer, and thank you so much for being here tonight. I look out in the crowd, and I would argue that I'm the unlikely candidate for governor. I'm like many of you. Grew up in the middle class. I've worked hard for what I have. I'm married, have 3 children. We're Christians. We go to public schools. We shop at Walmart. We work hard. I started out as a farmer, worked my way up. I believe that government can do better. Our government in Kentucky is too big. That's why I ran for Commissioner of Agriculture. I had a passion for agriculture, and I had a dissatisfaction with government. We went in there and we proved what one person can do with leadership, with a bold agenda. Over the course of the last 3.5 years, we've been able to transform that government agency, doing more with less, just what you expect your candidates and your office holders to do. I've actually done that. We focused on creating good-paying jobs and offering new opportunities to family farmers and agribusinesses across the state, and we've done that. We stood up to wasteful spending, waste, fraud, and abuse, and corruption. One of the things that gets lost in translation in this governor's race is we have a high level of corruption in state government in the way we award contracts and bids and things like that. We don't get our money's worth when we build roads and bridges and schools because we pay too much. It's not just because of prevailing wage, which I want to repeal to be able to save every taxpayer money. It's because we have a culture in Frankfort that needs to be changed. I'm the one candidate that has done that. I've stood up to my own party. I'll do what's right. I'm running for governor because I want to improve the business climate in the state. I want to change the culture in Frankfort, and I want to provide the badly needed leadership that we so desperately desire in this state. I'm running a positive campaign for governor. It's sad when we have candidates that come in and write big checks, and they have super PACs that come in with out-of-state money where they don't have to disclose their donors. That's what happened to Washington, D.C. My friends, I don't want that to happen in Kentucky. We need to elect someone from the middle class that's worked hard, that's running an honest campaign, that's talking about what they're going to do to move this state forward. I asked you to go to jamescomer.com and look at our proposals. You may not agree with me on every issue, but you will know where I stand on every issue. Just as I did 4 years ago as a candidate for Commissioner of Agriculture, I told you what I was going to do. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do as governor. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to stand up to corruption. I'm going to make Kentucky the most competitive state in the United States to attract good-paying jobs. I'm going to inspire the next generation of leaders so that they stay in this state, start their families here, start their businesses here, and we can grow the economy and solve the problems that we have in this state. I sincerely ask that you vote for James Comer and Chris McDaniel to be your next governor and lieutenant governor. We can work together. We can move Kentucky forward, and we can make Kentucky proud again. Thank you all very much.
There are so many. There are so many unasked questions tonight. We just simply ran out of time. My gosh, guys, we could do another several hours. I would encourage you, those of you listening at home, those of you here, keep asking questions. Keep kicking tires. Keep talking to your friends. Keep finding out. Let's keep making democracy work here. And I want to thank the members of the Tea Party for inviting me to be part of this tonight, and Stephanie and all the people here at 970 AM The Answer who worked so hard on getting this done and doing it right. Let me also salute all of our candidates and give you a chance to weigh in. Those of you who are supporters and friends and maybe were moved by what you heard tonight, let me ask for hands from the candidates individually here. Would you join me in a hand, first of all, for Matt Bevin? All right, how about a hand for James Comer? Would you join me in a round of applause for Hal Heiner tonight? And finally, a hand for Will T. Scott. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, for inviting us to your party as we try to make the right decision about who should lead this Commonwealth in the 2015 election. This is Joe Elliott on 970 AM The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
Oh shit.